In the grand tapestry of the Zodiac, where each sign carries its own burden and brilliance, Gemini stands as a paradox wrapped in eloquence, motion, and mystery. Ruled by Mercury, the winged messenger of the gods, Gemini dances through life with a mind like lightning and a tongue dipped in silver. They are the storytellers, the wanderers, the eternal students of the cosmos, bearing the sacred gift of duality. The divine ability to see the world from multiple perspectives, to feel the storm and the sunshine at once. And yet, it is this very duality, this mercurial brilliance, that draws the envy of many. For Gemini walks in a realm between light and shadow, between silence and speech, and not all who encounter them understand the depth of this sign. People smile at Gemini's face, charmed by their wit, seduced by their intellect, intoxicated by their ability to flow effortlessly between topics, people, and moods. They are the life of the gathering, the spark in a dull room, the wind that stirs stagnant minds. But behind closed doors, when Gemini's back is turned, tongues twist like serpents. Whispers rise. Too changeable, they say. Too clever. Too fast. Too fake. The world, in its slower pace and more rigid structure, fears what it cannot pin down. And Gemini, ever-changing, ever-moving, becomes the target of these fears. Accusations made in whispers by those who cannot keep up. Criticism from those who do not comprehend that to be many things is not to be inauthentic, but to be free. Still, Gemini does not crumble. The twins were never made to kneel. In the astral battlefield, they are not armored warriors of brute force, but agile strategists, wielding words like blades and ideas like shields. They know that to be misunderstood is a price of genius, that their fluidity is mistaken for duplicity only by those who are chained to a single face, a single truth, a single self. Gemini was born under the sign of duality for a reason, to embody the complexity of human nature, to challenge the black and white perceptions of the masses, and to evolve faster than the gossip that trails behind them. When the shadows gather and betrayal breathes down their neck, Gemini rises. Not always in confrontation, for they know not all battles are worth their breath, but in transcendence. They move forward. They become wind, uncatchable, untouchable, unpredictable. Their minds build empires in the space between insults. Their hearts, often dismissed as shallow, are vast landscapes of thought and feeling where few dare to tread. This sign, blessed with the energy of the mutable air, is not static. They do not cling to bitterness, nor do they dwell in the muck of petty criticism. They observe, they learn, and they fly higher. For every dagger of gossip thrown at them, they forge a quill, and from every wound, they write a chapter of survival. Their laughter becomes thunder, their silence, a storm gathering its strength. Let them talk behind closed doors. Let them weave their tales in corners where light does not reach. Gemini walks illuminated by their own brilliance, guided by the stars and Mercury's eternal flame. They are alchemists of the soul, turning deception into clarity and doubt into drive. They do not need validation from the timid hearts of those who fear their own reflections. For in the end, it is not the noise behind them that defines their path, but the vision before them. Gemini strides forward, ever adapting, ever transforming, a celestial force of curiosity and courage, scattering seeds of thought across the winds of fate. Where others whisper, Gemini declares. Where others cower, Gemini explores. And where others fall silent, Gemini becomes the voice of a new era. In the Zodiac's eternal sky, Gemini is the star that shifts and sparkles. Never still, never dimmed. Misjudged, yes. Criticized endlessly, but broken, never. Beneath the ever-shifting sky, where celestial bodies trace ancient paths across the firmament, Gemini carries a divine mission not always seen or understood by mortal eyes. There is a sacred contract written into the soul of this sign, to be the voice between worlds, the translator between thought and speech, between spirit and matter. And yet, this gift is both blessing and burden, for to be the messenger is also to be the lightning rod. Gemini is forged from the element of air, not the gentle breeze but the whirlwind, the gust that brings transformation and revelation. Unlike the fixed signs who stake their identities like flags in solid ground, Gemini is mutable, constantly evolving, constantly shedding skins of outdated thought and outgrown emotion. This very adaptability, this sacred mutability, is often misread as instability by those who cannot grasp the art of becoming. In a world that demands constancy, Gemini becomes a mirror, reflecting the inconsistencies of others. When people accuse Gemini of wearing masks, they fail to see that the masks are not deception but expression, each one a facet of a larger, multidimensional truth. The twins do not lie. They simply refuse to be confined by a single definition of self. Their truth is a prism, splitting light into color, showing realities that others have yet to imagine. Their multiplicity is not fragmentation but synthesis, the sacred dance of paradox that holds the universe together. Astrologically, Mercury's rulership bestows Gemini with speed of mind and dexterity of speech, but also with a restlessness that propels them ever forward. This is not escape, but pursuit, a quest for meaning, for novelty, for stimulation that fuels the eternal youth of their spirit. Gemini is the eternal seeker, the cosmic wanderer who hears the music between words and the silence behind noise. And yet, because they move so quickly through ideas and interactions, others project upon them the image of the trickster, the jester, the unreliable phantom. But the truth lies deeper. Gemini's true power is not found in permanence, but in motion. Like the wind that cannot be grasped but is felt nonetheless, Gemini influences the collective consciousness by breathing life into stagnant spaces. They are the first to speak the unspeakable, to question dogma, to ignite change through conversation and curiosity. They break taboos not to shock, but to expand. Their power lies in revealing what others fear to acknowledge, and for this they are often punished. Yet within every Gemini is the strength of the divine twins, Castor and Pollux, the mortal and the immortal, the earthbound and the starbound. This mythic duality teaches them to live between worlds, one foot grounded, the other reaching into the heavens. It is this dual nature that gives Gemini the strength to withstand betrayal, misunderstanding, and envy. For even when cast out, gossiped about, or painted falsely by those who cannot see the whole, Gemini holds the truth within. Their heart may be bruised, but their mind remains unshaken. They process the pain, transmute it, and rise. This is the quiet heroism of Gemini, not in grand acts of war, but in the resilience of spirit, the refusal to be boxed in by others' limited imaginations. They endure not by hiding, but by continuing to shine, to speak, to inspire. Their revenge is evolution. Their justice is clarity. The very winds that carry criticism also carry their words to ears that are ready, minds that are open, and souls that are hungry for truth. In this way, Gemini becomes immortal, not through power over others, but through the ideas they spark, the laughter they ignite, and the light they spread. When the world casts shadows, Gemini becomes the dawn. When falsehoods are whispered, Gemini answers with 1,000 voices of reason, wit, and radiant authenticity. They may be underestimated, but never undone. They may be mocked, but never silenced. The cosmos bends toward their frequency, and though few may follow, all are touched. In the grand wheel of the Zodiac, Gemini's motion keeps the cycle alive. Without them, stagnation would reign. But through them, thought evolves, society shifts, and consciousness expands. They are the invisible current beneath revolutions, the spark in the mind that questions, the breath that brings the storm and clears the sky. They are not here to be understood by all. They are here to move the world. In the ancient celestial code written across the constellations, Gemini is not merely a sign. It is a force, an archetype born of starlight and breath, forged in the fires of divine curiosity. It is the soul's hunger for meaning, for exchange, for the fusion of idea and action, of question and answer. Where other signs seek to build monuments of stone, Gemini weaves legacies in language, crafting bridges of thought that stretch between hearts, cultures, and even dimensions. Much is said of Gemini's agility, of their intellect and wit, but there is a deeper magic within this sign that is seldom acknowledged: their ability to connect. Beneath the Quicksilver mind lies a deeper mission, one that is cosmic in nature, to be the channel through which the universe speaks to itself. Gemini holds within their soul the sacred contract of communion, not just through words, but through energy. Their presence awakens dormant minds. Their questions open locked doors. Their laughter is not frivolity, but the sound of liberation. They are not meant to stay still, for stagnation is antithetical to their essence. Their movement is not without purpose. It is sacred motion. It is Mercury's will unfolding. Just as wind carries pollen to spark new life, Gemini travels through realms, both seen and unseen, leaving behind seeds of transformation. They are here to disturb what is static, to bring life to what has settled into sleep, and to electrify the spaces that have dulled into silence. There is, too, a profound emotional intelligence within Gemini, often overshadowed by their intellectual brilliance. This emotional depth is veiled, not from lack of feeling, but from a world too quick to judge what it cannot categorize. Gemini feels everything: joy, pain, betrayal, hope, with a sensitivity that is often misunderstood. Their duality includes both the thinker and the empath. They wear 1,000 expressions not to deceive, but because they live 1,000 experiences in a single breath. When they laugh, it is with the memory of both sorrow and wonder. When they speak, it is with the voices of everyone they have ever been, and all those they have loved, even silently. This emotional kaleidoscope is what gives Gemini their resilience. When betrayal comes, and it always does for those who shine too brightly, Gemini feels the blade. But they do not allow it to define them. Instead, they transmute the pain into narrative, into song, into vision. They understand the truth that energy must move or it poisons the soul. So they let it move. They write, they speak, they dance with their wounds until they are no longer wounds but wings. What others bury, Gemini releases. What others avoid, Gemini investigates. Though their path is often solitary in its uniqueness, Gemini is never alone. They are accompanied by the whisper of stars, the pulse of thought that weaves through time. They carry the voices of gods and the dreams of humanity. Their mind is a constellation in motion, and their heart is the ink with which the universe tells its story. Even in exile, even when surrounded by judgment and misinterpretation, Gemini does not beg to be understood. They simply continue. This is their quiet defiance. They do not halt their evolution for the comfort of others. They do not dull their shine to ease another's insecurity. Instead, they ascend. They reinvent. They outgrow the boxes built to contain them, and in doing so, they inspire others to do the same. There is also a profound wisdom in Gemini's humor, often dismissed as lightheartedness. But this laughter is cosmic. It is the laughter of Hermes, who knew the secrets of gods and men and still chose to find joy in the trick of life. Gemini carries this sacred laughter, not the mockery of the bitter, but the enlightenment of one who has seen all sides and still believes in the dance. This joy is not ignorance. It is survival. It is the celebration of a soul that refuses to be broken by a world that does not always listen. In their highest form, Gemini becomes a cosmic shapeshifter, an oracle of possibility, a poet of the stars. They do not cling to what was or fear what is coming. They adapt, they shift, they rise again and again, not as the same person, but as a new expression of the same eternal soul. Like the phoenix's airy twin, they burn away the old selves not in fire, but in thought, in word, in wind. Their destiny is not always comfortable, for to be the voice of change is to be met with resistance. To be fluid in a world that worships rigidity is to be feared and criticized. But Gemini was never meant to follow. They are here to lead not through command, but through inspiration. Not through domination, but through illumination. They do not demand attention. They attract it. They do not force the world to change. They awaken the desire for change within it. In the end, Gemini's legacy is not built in stone, but in the minds they've awakened, the hearts they've opened, and the futures they've made possible through the infinite daring of their being. They are not here to be liked by all. They are here to be lightning in human form, rare, radiant, and utterly unstoppable. In the great wheel of cosmic intention, Gemini is not merely a vessel for thought and speech, but a living, breathing embodiment of the divine interplay between order and chaos, knowledge and intuition. Their role transcends mundane descriptions of personality and pierces into the architecture of reality itself. They are not here to be understood within the limits of convention. They are here to stretch those limits until they dissolve. What is often missed in the surface reading of Gemini is their relationship with time. Governed by Mercury, Gemini is not bound by linear chronology. They can live a lifetime in a moment, experience futures while standing in the present, recall pasts that have not yet been written. Their minds are quantum in nature, capable of simultaneous realities, capable of holding contradictions without dissonance, because they understand the cosmic law that all truths can exist together, each a different echo of a greater harmony. This ability to think and exist beyond fixed time is precisely what sets Gemini apart in a world addicted to conclusions. They are not seeking finality. They are devoted to process, to movement, to the sacred unfolding of insight after insight. To others, this can appear inconsistent or non-committal. But what Gemini actually displays is the most courageous act of all, the refusal to limit oneself to any single identity, philosophy, or outcome. They evolve not as a rebellion, but as a responsibility to the ever-expanding consciousness of the universe. Their courage is subtle. It is not the loud roar of defiance, but the quiet integrity of change. They walk into rooms knowing they might be misread, misjudged, even betrayed, and still they speak. Still they share. Still they open doors where others have built walls. And when those doors are slammed in their faces, they do not retreat into bitterness. They alchemize rejection into redirection. They do not seek validation from the crowd because they are attuned to a higher frequency, one where validation is irrelevant and vibration is everything. The spiritual path of Gemini is also one of integration. The ancient symbol of the twin speaks not only to duality but to sacred union, the unification of shadow and light, intellect and instinct, the internal and the external worlds. Gemini does not seek perfection in one self, but wholeness across many selves. They are shapeshifters not because they are lost, but because they are complete in their multiplicity. Every version of themselves is a note in the symphony of their soul's music. To expect them to be one thing forever is to deny them the very breath that animates them. Beneath the rapid-fire thoughts and agile adaptability lies a deep mystical knowing. Gemini, at their core, is a sign of sacred language, not just human language, but the language of symbols, dreams, frequencies, patterns. They see connections that others miss. They hear messages in silence. They decode synchronicity as naturally as breathing. This is why they often appear ahead of their time. They are conduits of the future, receivers of cosmic instruction, often misunderstood simply because they are speaking a language the world has not yet learned to hear. When the slander of others trails behind them, when criticism seeks to bind their wings, Gemini does not retaliate through vengeance or drama. Their true power is in transcendence. They rise by vibrating higher, moving swifter, envisioning greater. They leave behind those who try to reduce them, not out of arrogance but out of alignment. Their path is upward, forward, outward, infinite. Yet they do not abandon compassion. Despite the wounds of betrayal, Gemini continues to offer light. Their wisdom is never hoarded. They scatter it like stardust, knowing that even if it is mocked now, one day it will bloom in someone else's mind as clarity. Their legacy is planted in the thoughts they ignite, the perspectives they shift, the limits they dissolve without ever needing recognition. They are celestial catalysts, smiling at the very resistance that proves they are doing what they came here to do. Gemini is also a warrior of the invisible, not in armor, but in ideas. In a world where truth is often buried beneath noise, where manipulation wears masks of certainty, Gemini fights by revealing. They pierce illusion with insight. They tear veils with humor. They expose dogma not with aggression, but with the quiet revolution of asking better questions. Their rebellion is intellectual. Their revolution is spiritual. To be born under this sign is to carry the sacred responsibility of awakening, not through preaching, but through possibility. Gemini does not demand awakening from others. They demonstrate it. They live it. They embody what it means to be in motion without being lost, to question without despair, to feel everything and still choose joy. They are the voice between dimensions, the mind that maps the uncharted, the wind that whispers forgotten truths into sleeping hearts. They are misunderstood because they are multidimensional beings in a world still learning to perceive in more than one direction at a time. But that misunderstanding is the crucible of their greatness. It tempers them, it sharpens them, it teaches them that clarity is forged, not found. Even in solitude, Gemini is sovereign. They commune with muses unseen, with knowledge unspoken, with futures unfolding. They do not chase the spotlight because they are the light. And even when their radiance is met with shadows, they keep shining, not to be seen, but because shining is who they are. In the silent, sacred language of stars, Gemini writes poems of possibility, epics of intellect, prophecies of transformation. They are the heralds of a new paradigm, the architects of unseen bridges between realms of thought and soul. They are the breath of the divine mind, made human. And though the world may mock the winds it cannot catch, those winds still carry change, soft, steady, unstoppable. In the sacred theater of the Zodiac, where each sign performs an essential act in the eternal story of the cosmos, Gemini is the spark that animates the breath of creation. They are not bound by the gravity of convention nor beholden to the expectations of a world that fears what it cannot define. Gemini is the divine experiment of movement in its purest form, movement of thought, movement of spirit, movement of truth. To exist as Gemini is to carry a radiant fire that never stays still, a fire that illuminates, transforms, and provokes awakening in all it touches. One of the most misunderstood gifts of Gemini lies in their unyielding adaptability. Often mistaken for superficiality or duplicity, this adaptability is, in truth, a sacred tool of survival and mastery. Gemini does not change to please others. They change because they are attuned to the flow of the universe itself. Just as water carves canyons through ancient stone, Gemini reshapes reality with their ideas, their words, their presence. Their essence is not to settle, but to stir. In stillness, they begin to dim. In motion, they blaze like lightning. What many fail to perceive is the quiet courage required to live this way. To reinvent oneself is not a sign of confusion, but of courage. To let go of outdated versions of self is not fickleness, but wisdom. Gemini possesses a rare spiritual maturity, the understanding that the self is not a fixed monument but a living manuscript. Each chapter is meant to be written, lived, and then released. Each version of self is a verse in the greater poem of the soul. This is not chaos. This is cosmic harmony. Gemini is also deeply connected to the breath, not just as a physical function, but as a metaphysical bridge between the conscious and the unconscious, the finite and the eternal. In many ancient traditions, breath is life. In Gemini, breath becomes expression, articulation, communion. Their voice carries not just opinion but vibration. When they speak, even casually, their words carry the echoes of unseen realms, awakening recognition in those who are ready to hear. They do not always know the power they wield, for it flows through them naturally, like wind through leaves. But those who are touched by their words are changed forever. Another aspect often overlooked is Gemini's relationship with duality, not as conflict, but as a source of unity. While many see contradiction as a flaw, Gemini holds the sacred task of reconciling opposites. They are day and night, logic and emotion, certainty and curiosity. They do not seek to resolve paradox, but to embody it. In doing so, they mirror the very nature of the universe, where stars are born in darkness, and silence holds the most profound truths. Gemini does not fight duality. They dance with it, becoming the living proof that wholeness is not found in singularity, but in multiplicity embraced. In every cycle of human evolution, there are those who push the collective consciousness forward. Gemini is among these sacred agitators, often without acclaim or recognition. They may be mocked, misunderstood, or cast aside, but they continue to offer their gifts because something inside them refuses to be silenced. They are cosmic couriers, delivering messages that may take years, even lifetimes, to be fully received. Their legacy is not always visible in statues or headlines, but in the way people think differently after encountering them, in the questions they inspire, in the mental doors they unlock. Gemini's lightheartedness, often reduced to mere playfulness, conceals a profound resilience. It is not ignorance that allows them to laugh, but insight. They know that nothing is fixed, that even the darkest moment is part of a larger pattern still unfolding. Their humor is a kind of grace, a shield woven from perspective. It is not detachment, but a deeper form of connection, the ability to see the comedy in the tragedy, the wisdom in the absurd. This is a rare and holy gift, and it saves more than it wounds. Where others build fortresses, Gemini builds windows. Where others see walls, they see doors. They invite possibility where others impose limitation. This is why they are often targets of projection and envy, because they remind people of the freedom they once believed they had to give up. But Gemini does not internalize this darkness. They walk through it, not unscathed, but undeterred. They heal not by retreating, but by continuing to radiate. Gemini also carries the sacred task of teaching humanity that thought itself is divine. Every idea they birth, every connection they make, is a spark of creation. In their highest expression, they are mental magicians, rewiring the collective paradigm with every word they speak and every idea they dare to share. They do not fear contradiction because they are aligned with the deeper truth that all things are in flux, and it is only those who move with the current who shape where it goes. They may never receive the full recognition they deserve, for the world is still learning how to honor the wind, how to bless what cannot be captured. But Gemini is not here to be captured. They are here to be felt, to be witnessed, to be remembered in the moments of sudden clarity, the moments of laughter that heal, the moments when something clicks in the mind and a new universe is born. Gemini is the breath between thoughts, the pause before inspiration, the messenger that reminds the soul of its infinite capacity. They are the storytellers of the cosmos, spinning epics not in ink alone but in energy, in vibration, in vision. They are not here to be understood by all. They are here to be the change that understanding eventually makes possible. And when they rise, because rise they will over and over again in form after form, they do so not with vengeance but with velocity, not with bitterness but brilliance, not with silence but song, the song of the stars, the music of movement, the anthem of those born to fly above and beyond the reach of those who would chain them to a single name. Gemini is freedom made flesh, and in their freedom the world finds its future. There is an energy, an essence that pulses through Gemini's being, a force that cannot be boxed into mere personality traits or limited by human understanding. Gemini, governed by Mercury, is a reflection of the divine messenger, embodying a state of perpetual motion that mirrors the very nature of existence itself. The world around them may seek to pin them down, to label them, to place them into predefined categories, but Gemini knows no boundaries. They are the ever-changing river, the breeze that dances through the trees, the flame that never stays in one place long enough to be contained. In their most profound and spiritual sense, Gemini holds a mirror to the human experience. The world projects onto them the contradictions, the desires, and the fears it refuses to acknowledge in itself. Gemini walks into this arena with a soul that understands these dynamics on a deep level. They are not passive observers of the human condition but active participants in the divine drama that unfolds. Their role is to reflect the hidden aspects of humanity back to it, often through sharp wit, insightful observation, and a natural ability to see the world through multiple perspectives at once. This gift of perception, however, comes at a price. Misunderstanding, isolation, and the constant challenge of navigating a world that often fails to see them for the multidimensional beings they truly are. The way others react to Gemini is a testament to the power they wield. People are often drawn to them for their infectious energy, their intellectual spark, and their ability to speak the unspeakable. Yet, there is also a fear that Gemini stirs within others, an awareness that they represent something outside the norm, something beyond the limits of convention. This fear manifests as envy, jealousy, or even betrayal, as people who feel threatened by Gemini's boundless energy seek to diminish them, to put them in a box, to strip them of their essence. But Gemini, in their wisdom, understands that the judgment they receive is not about them. It is about those projecting their insecurities and limitations onto them. While the world may attempt to drag Gemini down into the mire of shallow criticism or petty gossip, they have the innate ability to rise above it. They are not weighed down by the opinions of others because they know their truth is not dependent on external validation. Instead, they live in alignment with the higher frequencies of the universe, channeling the messages they receive with grace and authenticity. Their sense of purpose is not tied to conforming to societal expectations but to embracing their fluid, ever-evolving nature as part of the grand cosmic dance. In the face of betrayal or harsh criticism, Gemini does not shrink or retaliate with malice. They understand that those who seek to harm them or misunderstand their true nature are simply trapped in their own limited perception of the world. Instead of fighting fire with fire, Gemini channels the energy of the situation into self-reflection, growth, and expansion. They possess the rare ability to alchemize negativity into positive momentum, transforming pain into wisdom and frustration into innovation. Their path is not one of avoiding conflict but of using it as a catalyst for spiritual and personal evolution. Moreover, Gemini's connection to the world is not confined to human interactions alone. Their relationship with the cosmos itself is deep, profound, and filled with purpose. They are the conduits between the seen and unseen worlds, the translators of the universe's language. Through their intuition, Gemini taps into the collective unconscious, drawing from a wellspring of knowledge that transcends time and space. They do not simply think. They channel ideas that come from the very fabric of existence. When they speak, their words are not merely their own. They are the echoes of ancient wisdom, the voices of future possibilities, and the harmonies of the stars themselves. One of the most powerful aspects of Gemini's nature is their ability to understand and integrate paradox. They are the embodiment of duality, not in the sense of opposing forces but as complementary energies that, when united, create a greater whole. This ability to hold opposing truths simultaneously allows Gemini to see the interconnectedness of all things. They can hold space for complexity and contradiction, understanding that life is not about choosing one side over another, but about embracing the entirety of existence. This understanding makes them profound philosophers, healers, and leaders, as they have the ability to unify seemingly disparate ideas and bring them into harmony. Gemini's strength lies in their ability to continuously transform, to reinvent themselves, and to evolve. They are not tied to a single identity, a single purpose, or a single vision of who they are supposed to be. Instead, they exist as ever-changing, ever-expanding beings who understand that growth is not linear but cyclical. They may shed old skins, break free from old identities, and reinvent themselves time and time again. This process of constant rebirth is not a sign of instability but of spiritual resilience. Gemini understands that to be fully alive is to be in a constant state of transformation, and they embrace this with courage and grace. While others may see their fluidity as indecision or inconsistency, Gemini's flexibility is, in fact, a sacred gift. It allows them to adapt to ever-changing circumstances, to move with the flow of life without resistance, and to remain open to the infinite possibilities that lie ahead. This adaptability also allows Gemini to form deep connections with people from all walks of life, as they can meet others where they are, understanding their perspectives and offering insights from a place of empathy and compassion. Gemini's greatest triumph is not in their ability to change, but in their ability to remain true to their essence through that change. Their authenticity is found in their willingness to embrace their multifaceted nature without apology. They do not seek to fit into the boxes that society has built for them. Instead, they create their own boxes, tear them down, and create new ones. This fearlessness in the face of convention makes them natural pioneers, leaders, and trailblazers. They do not follow the path, they carve it. In their highest expression, Gemini is the embodiment of divine freedom. They are the liberators of the mind, the souls who free others from the chains of limited thinking and self-imposed restrictions. Their power is not in what they achieve, but in the way they inspire others to think, to question, and to grow. Gemini's true gift lies in their ability to awaken the infinite potential within those they encounter, to remind them that they, too, are not bound by the walls that society has built. Like the wind, they move through the world, leaving traces of inspiration, sparks of enlightenment, and the quiet knowledge that true freedom lies not in the external world, but in the internal universe of the soul. And so, Gemini continues their sacred dance. They are the flame that burns without consuming, the voice that speaks without fear, and the mind that holds within it the secrets of the universe. They are not here to be understood, for they are too vast, too fluid, too ever-changing to be comprehended by the limited lens of the human mind. But they are here to inspire, to awaken, and to remind the world that to live fully is to be in constant motion, constant evolution, and constant alignment with the eternal rhythm of the cosmos.